Okay, so when we talk about, sorry, I'm just getting this set up here. There we go. When we talk about ecology, we're talking about the study of our home. Our home is Earth. We call it a biosphere, or at least the parts of it that have life, a biosphere, because bio means life and sphere means, well, sphere, and the Earth just happens to be round. So on this biosphere, we have levels of study. Pardon my roommate. So we have levels of study. So I'm going to start at the individual. So the individual is one species, meaning it if it reproduced with a member of its other species, could make grandbabies. When we look at an individual species, we are studying on an organismal level. So this is organismal ecology. When we look at the individual and we're studying with organismal ecology, we are looking at something called the niche of that organism. So the niche is how it fits in and how it gains something that we're going to learn about later called fitness. So the niche is just the strategy that organism has for gaining fitness, which is the ability to survive and reproduce in that order. That is the mission of the organism, to pass on its genes. I tried to draw DNA there, did not work out. Let me try that again. I'm going to do a smaller, there we go. To pass on its genes. I am not a good artist. Okay, so anyway, that is looking at the individual. And then we're going to look at also populations. So populations, I want to go back to that. Populations are a group of one species. So this is is that caribou or elk? You know, I can never tell the difference. I'm going to say that it's not far enough north for reindeer, so elk. I'm going to say it's elk. So anyway, I get those confused. Anyway, so this caribou/elk is a population, and we can look at things like its population density and try to predict how that might change. What might make that population go up, and what might make it go down? What predictions can we make, and how can we influence that population size? So for example, when should we have deer hunting season? That might be something worth asking an ecologist. Why do we have deer season when we have it? We're trying to control the population, but in a certain way. So that's studying populations. Next is communities, and you will notice that we're talking here in this sphere of study. We are talking here about multiple species. So the jackrabbit, the beaver, the owl, the lynx, the moose, the caribou, and let's not forget the most important members of the community, or at least most forgotten, the trees. We always forget the trees. Trees and plants, they are also part of the ecosystem. And in fact, when we identify an ecosystem, we identify it by the trees. Why? Because they don't move. So for example, here you see this living vulture. What if that was a seasonal animal? What if this animal leaves? So this is the biome here. What if it leaves and goes somewhere else during the winter? So for example, we have snow geese. We wouldn't identify the eastern shore as a tundra just because we have snow geese some of the year. Animals move, so we can't really use them to identify an ecosystem. That is why we identify it with plants. So for example, I know that this is an evergreen tree, as is this and all of these. Evergreen trees grow in this place in the world. We have some of it, but not as much as they do up here. So I know that this is evergreen. So this is probably the taiga. So that's the That's how we identify the next level. So ecosystem is when we consider the living things, like this bear, and the non-living things, like this river and the sky, and how they interact together. And then once we know what ecosystem we're looking at, which again we look at the community of plants, we then sort it into a biome. So for example, this is the taiga biome, which stretches all the way across the northern hemisphere of Earth. It is the largest, so I'll write that again. Oh, I'm out of room. You know what, give me a second here. Be professional. There we go. The taiga. So there it is. We study the individual, then we study the population, the community, and ecosystem, biome, and biosphere. Those are all levels of study.